So, welcome, Steve, to our FranView Franchise Legends podcast. And I'm Dela Croft. I'm here with FranView, and we're looking forward to speaking with you today. I'm going to ask you a few background questions, Steve. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, Della, thank you for having me on here today. Great. Yeah, so a little about myself. I am with a company called Franchise Playbook. So I'm our Chief Development Officer. So Playbook is the company that owns and operates Voda Cleaning Restoration. It's the same leadership team. Playbook is the platform that we're building out to roll out multiple home service brands here over the next several years. Voda being our first brand. So for me, my role in the company, I run development for the company. I'm partnered with some great guys and some, young franchise titans in the franchise industry. But, for me, I was new to the franchise industry before helping build and launch Franchise Playbook. The guys, Dan Claps, our CEO, and Zach Nolte, our CFO, they've been in the space their whole career, basically over 10 years. I had the opportunity to join them to run sales for Playbook. And, for me, I was, researching franchising prior, researching home services. I was in more traditional kind of startup companies where, you had an idea from ground level and kind of building it up. So I knew what it took to build a company without, a proven system in place and kind of building it as you go and hurdles that you face. And franchise was really intriguing with me. And then the opportunity to join Dan and Zach early on was something really intriguing with me. And I've been with the company ever since our launch.
That's awesome. So, Steve, you are such an asset to Voda. And I'm just curious, what specifically drew you into the home services industry?
Yeah, well, it was several things. So one, I had a startup company that was acquired, a couple of years before I started Playbook, and I was trying to figure out what to do next. Was kind of out of ideas. The team that I had been in the startups with kind of disassembled and went our different directions. And I had done a lot of research on home services, especially after COVID. Following private equity, and then I was a paperboy growing up. So I used to deliver paper to your house. I would paint your fence. I would cut your lawn, and I had a pretty big route. And for somebody in middle school and high school, I had a pretty big customer base, and it was kind of my entry level in the home services. I remember kind of competing against adults at the time, and using different tactics between door knocking, parts, some entry level tactics, and I was intrigued by the space. What happened if I didn't go to college and continue down that route? What would that look like? And just so happens I had a couple buddies that I went to high school with that started up similar companies in landscaping and roofing, and I saw how successful they were. And so I got really far along with the home service kind of industry. And actually a franchise consultant reached out to me at the end of 2021, about 6-7 months before I met Dan, talked to me about the opportunity of franchising home services. And it really kind of opened my mind of the opportunity. And then serendipitously, a buddy of mine who's an executive recruiter introduced me to Dan when he was building out Playbook. He had nobody except the website and an idea, and he was a bit delusional, and I liked that. And so I saw what he was building out. I liked the space, and I joined from him back in 2022.
Well, I always believe that good people find good people. So that's awesome. Dan found you.
Yes.
And you're naturally driven. That's just a natural instinct.
Yeah, well, I like, I've been in huge corporations. I was in medical device before, pharma, so I was with these huge companies, and then started doing startups, and I really like the feel of growing something, be a part of a team. I think in general, as an entrepreneur, you like doing hard things and challenging things. And so to take something, when I look back in 2022, when Dan, Zach, Christian were sitting there with a website and an idea to go out, and the journey we're at now to fast forward to 109 owners and the growth we've had over the last 3 years. Looking back on it, we always joked around. We kind of envisioned ourselves as a 100 franchise system for franchisees. We kind of had that, confidence moving forward. And then, with a lot of hard work and time, we've been able to have that come to fruition. But it's really, especially at the end of the year when you kind of look back on things,
right.
How was 2025, and then you look back and where we've come. I'm just, again, back to, my experience. And I tell this to a lot of candidates, as you're looking at a franchise opportunity, you're looking at business partnership in general, it starts with people. And I think from day one, I was really attracted to, partnering with Dan and Zach. And I felt like we had something special early on. and we just kind of continue to build that momentum, over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that connection is so important to continue to propel that momentum. So what does your day-to-day role look like as the director of franchise development?
Yeah. So for me, so I have a team of now I have a team of 5. So for me, every morning I like religiously I call one of our franchise managers up, about 8 a.m. sharp, run through the day, run through the week. Susan runs our kind of frontline territory checks, introductions, along with Jess and another individual, Sarah. So I kind of check on the front line there, and then from there, I still do introductions with the candidates. So my day consists of doing introductions with candidates, doing other, further along the process calls. I run a lot of our group calls too as well. So the economics calls. And then from there, really built a lot of relationships with franchise consultants. So for me, spending a lot of time getting to know their business and how Voda might fit in with them too as well is also, part of things I'm doing, where trying to drive leads incoming, as well as trying to find the right fits of leads and candidates that are already in our process.
Wonderful. Wow. So for people hearing about Voda for the first time, what is Voda Clean?
Yeah, so Voda Cleaning Restoration. So we are a cleaning and restoration franchise.
Okay.
So the model's been around since 2009. So again, back to that Playbook platform and experience of Dan and Zach, we, similar to a lot of our candidates, wanted to find an industry to invest in. So at that point, we looked at really everything in the home services space. Quickly identified, over 6 to 8 months, that we wanted to be in restoration. I think it was a great fit for our team, and we saw a lot of opportunity in a large, but we felt fragmented industry and felt like there was room for another national company to join. And so at that point, we then partnered by acquiring an existing business that had been around since 2009, and franchise that model. So the story has a unique spin. When we actually met the founder, company was actually called DNA Pro Cleaning.
Oh, wow.
A lot of other, businesses, I think our founder, D is his initial, A is his wife's initial, as well as his daughter's. So something that he kind of, from a family legacy standpoint, I think a lot of people do that, right? They do Croft Restoration or S&W, and we wanted to build a national brand. So we loved everything about what he built. But again, we're very sales, marketing, technology focused to disrupt the space. Part of that was we brought in a large marketing company, did a lot of market research, focus groups. And at that point, we were able to get the founder to rebrand the whole location and totally make a facelift on the existing business that was there, and rebrand it. So Voda Cleaning Restoration is now the national franchise brand that's out there. And a little Easter egg, Voda is actually the Serbian name for water. So paying homage to our Serbian founder as well. But I think the look and feel of the company, I think from the apparel, the look, just looks and feels different. And so we are a true cleaning and restoration franchise. So we have vehicles and teams equipped to do both. So essentially, everybody, everything you get in a floor cleaning franchise, as well as a restoration franchise, combined in one model.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of different service lines. We do everything from anything on the floor, tile and grout, air duct cleaning, odor removal, and then on the restoration side, anything that involves water damage, fire and smoke, mold mediation, as well as biohazard removal is all underneath the Voda, banner.
Yes. So why would you say that the industry of restoration and cleaning is growing so fast on a nationwide scale? I mean, I know you said this came from COVID.
I don't necessarily think it's been, so it's had consistent growth. I think one of the things that we liked about this industry was just tried and true, right? You could argue water restoration has been around since people have had homes.
Sure.
I think the things that we looked for, recession-resistant. It's also demographic resistant. We have owners in the highest income neighborhoods in the U.S. and some of the lower income areas, right? It's not going anywhere. We felt like AI wouldn't disrupt this space. And one of the reasons, we saw it was, it's when you add reconstruction, it's about a $300 billion industry. So it's a massive space. But I think more or less what we identified was the ability for us, with a marketing background to come in and differentiate from an industry like restoration. So for example, from a customer aspect, if your home's flooded, right? You're not going to shop around for a bunch of different companies. You're going to find the first company that's professional and can get out to you right away. So that was something that fit into the wheelhouse. So we felt like we could come in and differentiate. And one thing, there's a lot of demand in this space. There's a lot of competition. We haven't created a new industry. We've came in and tried to do things differently based upon our founders' experience since 2009 on the Voda way to differentiate in the marketplace. And that, also requires us to partner with great franchise owners that are also going to, be the face of the brand in their local community. And that's something that I think has made us, the brand that we have to date.
Yeah. So these traits and your connection and also consistently showing up for your most successful owners has allowed you to continue to scale as well. So that's what has also contributed to that growth. So does someone need industry experience to get into a Voda franchise?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, none of our owners came in with any experience. So it's something, this is a manager model. So we want to take somebody with the skill set that you learned throughout your career and apply it to our business. So again, I think early on, we want you to learn the industry. We want you to get the certification, which is pretty easy to get, but you're leading a team that we're going to help you in the hiring process through a talent scout program. We handle all the digital marketing for you, which is a huge lift, but we need you to lead teams. And one of the big things is generate revenue through generating activities. That's closing the leads you provide and going out there and networking locally in your community. So those are the things that we look for our owners.
Okay, awesome. And so what support then does Voda provide across the training platform, the marketing, and the operations? I know I've heard you say that Voda is right there to support. And how would you explain that?
Well, I think overall that should be the relationship with any franchise or franchisee is a support structure. So for us, one, you're buying into a playbook that our founder has built, right? SOPs between every different service lines, when you get there to when you're done. And again, it's the little things that separate this industry, whether it's, following up on that call, whether it's sending out an automation where it shows the technician for their picture before they show up to the actual home, shoe coverings, corner protectors, all those little things from step one, the finalization is part of the model itself. But I think, on our end, the growth of the model itself has been, following the system, right? So you have that proven playbook from our founder. You have our experience in franchising. So again, Zach Nolte, our COO, has been in the space for over a decade. Another large franchisor. We've built relationships with a lot of key vendors that support our franchisee. So overall, the other thing that we do for you from the support structure is we handle all the digital lead generation for you. So everything from the marketing side, your digital footprint, leads that are coming in, they're all generated by us at corporate. The second factor that you're buying into is a success coach team.
Yes.
With an industry of a ticket like this, we have success coaches, most of them over 15 years experience. They meet with you weekly. They manage about 15 franchisees per success coach. So you're tapping into that technical expertise. They ride along the field with you too as well. And then the other thing I think is the community, right? We're very big on franchisee to franchisee peer discussions. So we have 3 weekly calls every week. Today's a founder call that is for owners only, kind of going how to be the best owner. Wednesdays we run a sales mojo call. And then Friday, we change the topics up for a team huddle. And that's with the entire company. So those 3 calls we hold every single week that you can tap into. Everybody's integrated with teams. I think as a franchise, people don't understand the value of tapping into a community, right? So if you're starting your own restoration company, really the only time you ever meet other owners, maybe you go to a conference or, you're not going to reach out to the bring restoration guy in your town and pick his brain and you guys are competing with each other, right? So with franchising, the ability where, hey, I know who the top performers are. I'm a brand new owner. I can tap into a guy that's doing, millions of dollars a year in revenue and understand the things that he's doing because I'm under the same system. So we really emphasize, that as well within our model.
Wonderful. So that's kind of that process is clearly the proven process of the playbook, and new owners can expect that even within that first 90 days.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So how do you start, right? So upon signing the franchise agreement, right away, you get sent to our onboarding team. So during that process, we typically get you up and running in about that 90 to 120 day timeline from signing a franchise agreement opening your doors. And through that onboarding process, we're going to set up your digital presence again. We're going to help you in that hiring process to hire a team. We're going to get all your equipment ordered. We're going to build your van out for you, start to set you up in networking groups. And then at the accumulation of that virtual training, you will then come to Voda University for a week-long hands-on training with our corporate team, kind of everything that you've learned previously at that location itself. But I think that we have is we're going to help you hire people with experience.
Yeah.
So we're taking other technicians from other, whether it's independently owned restoration companies or privately owned, and we're training them in the Voda way. So they come with a base knowledge of experience that I think helps with that, that learning curve as a business leader, because you have the experience of your team. What we're doing now at corporate is we're training those technicians on the Voda way of how we do things, and implementing them on our system, whether it's our quoting software, CRM system. And so that's all done in those, first 90 days pre-launching, but then back to that ongoing support, right? You're kind of drinking from the fire hose at the start. I think part of our success is also that ongoing support to tap into corporate, when you're 3 months out or 6 months out. You're also going to have different needs at different levels of your business, right? Someone that has one vehicle and have been operating for 3 months, not going to be the same level of, help or the same technical aspect as someone that's 2 years open. Going against different challenges, but whether it's the size of the jobs or just the team that they're building.
Okay. So in that first 90 to 120 days, what early signs do you see, or can you tell that an owner is positioned to scale? Maybe they want to scale into new territories, and that you can see that eagerness and that growth opportunity.
Yeah, well, I think, a couple things that I see during onboarding for that ability is, even though you're not opening doors for, 3 months or so, you're working on your business, right? Things are not, your leads aren't on, there's not the chaos of starting the business. So I think some of the things that I see that help them scale quickly is the ability to go out and network right away.
Okay.
And learn from referral partners. So one thing that we try and cover, you go to a referral partner and you go, hey, I'm Steve with Voda. You're a plumber. I want all your leads. It's not really a good way to going about a referral relationship, right? You got to present value. So I think one thing to say, hey, I'm going to spend a lot of money on restoration leads through a national marketing company with Voda as a national franchise brand. I'm going to need to find a plumbing referral partner. How do you go about with that referral partnership, right? Learning what they look for, positioning yourself when you open doors. And I think also just the ability to be a sponge and understand how the referrals work locally, listening to what we do, but using that time to build a business is key. I think a lot of people that are maybe transitioning out or trying to run that process miss some key steps in building that referral base, and also spending more time to hire people, right? Yeah. I think it is key to success. Learning who going and introducing yourself to Chamber of Commerce. The more things you can do before you turn your business on, the faster you are going to be out of the gate.
Makes sense. So the future is always nearer than we think, right? And so what's coming next for Voda?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of exciting things. I think, overall, when you're building a company from 0 franchisees to where we're at now with a little over 100, you're going to start to have more mature franchisees that need different things. And I think as we've reached scale and had more coverage from, we're in 32 states now. Wow. About 6 weeks ago, we hired a national account director. Okay. So we're going to be rolling out a national accounts team. We have some referral relationships already built, but they're not systematically built out right now through our CRM system where the lead kind of come in directly. It's more of a referral relationship that we're helping you build out. So we're building that out really here for 2026. Really excited about that too as well. I think some of the other programs that we have too as well with our flooded lead program and the maturity of that is also something that is going to continue to grow. And that's a digital lead referral program through that flooded program. So, overall, national accounts on the horizon. I think also the flooded program. And then again, with more mature franchisees, more footprint enables us to do different things, at the national level with, now we have areas like Houston sold out, San Antonio sold out. So we have the ability to build up those referral relationships and build things, at scale at a national level by finding great franchise owners.
Yeah. And that scale and, owning the market in Houston, that creates trust on those receiving the services. And it just continues to compound at that point.
Exactly.
So what advice would you give someone that's evaluating franchise ownership?
It's a great question. So I think one, I would, for yourself, figure out what do I need to do as an owner to be successful, right? So what are they looking for? Does it fit my skill set? So for example, for us, if you don't like to go out and network with people and build referral relationships, you're not going to be a fit for us, right? If you don't want to, that's something that just is the core fundamental thing. Now, again, somebody could theoretically hire out for that, but I think for us, if you don't want to go out there and meet people and be a pillar of the community and all that, it's really not, we're not a brick and mortar location driving people where nobody knows the owner. We want the owner to be kind of front and center, or their team at least. So what are they looking for? Obviously, the unit economics have to make sense, right? I think a lot of people get in trouble when they lead with passion. Don't understand, is this actually going to make me money eventually? So I think the unit economics we definitely have to check out. I also would kind of research the industry, right? There's a lot of changes going on in several industries, right? Like a lot of I have some friends in IT, like probably not an industry I want to start off here in 2026 to get into, or some of these other things that are being changed by AI or some other platform. So look at kind of the future of the industry itself. But I think the big thing that I always tell people, what's great about franchising is the ability to validate what you're hearing, what you're reading through an FDD, through owners themselves, right? Again, the ability to go into an owner and ask, would you buy again? Is the leadership team supporting you? Do you feel like you're getting enough value from the royalty, right? I think there's all those factors that I would do during that due diligence process to, and that's what's great about franchising, right? You're protected by the FDD document. You can talk to other owners, where if you're buying an existing, the guy that's selling you is the one that's talking to you. So whatever, and it's not really regulated. Whatever he's telling you, you have to take word for. You do your own investigation. I think those are key things that I would look for when evaluating a franchise.
Yeah. And evaluating those opportunities, what would you say that stands out specifically about Voda and regarding the investment, margins, staffing, and scalability? We already talked about scalability, but those investment margins.
Yeah, I think one thing, there's, again, I don't know if necessarily people grow up with restoration as a passion, or if you see a lot of kids grow up and they're like, I want to be in restoration, right? It's not some of the other, maybe more sexy industries. When you start to look at the numbers, the margins of the business, the opportunity, for example, our corporate location, 2024 in the item 19, a little over 2.7 million, 22.47%, adjusted EBITDA. That's after the royalty brand fund. That's net. Afterwards, pretty healthy, over 22%. And then from our owners, we've had, our top, owners, so we have our first year owners numbers. And so our top 25 performers, first year in business, collected revenue a little over 803,000. Top 50 collected revenue a little over 651,000. So, and then again, as you start to talk to some of the owners that have been a little bit longer than that, there's a lot of opportunity to scale quickly in this industry, right? We had an owner, I think 4 months into the business, land a $123,000 job. To me, that's exciting, right? Revenue cures all, just business. And so there is a lot of opportunity in the restoration space. I think also, if you look at, it's a tried and true industry. If you look at some of the average unit volume of other established systems, or you see what some of these other franchise owners are doing in some of these systems, is incredible, right? To see a franchise owner in a established restoration company do $50-60 million a year, you're not going to see that in a lot of other industries. And so that's something I think, makes the industry intriguing overall. And then it's, as you're evaluating us, okay, what makes Voda unique? And you also have, with established industry, it's great, but is there available territory?
Yeah.
And I think we've hit that inflection point where we have, established owners now, but we also have available territory for you still to buy in early in the system. And I think that's one of the things you're evaluating a franchise. You're trying to find a proof of concept, available territory, right? And I think, you hit these brands that get to that 3-4 year mark or look at the sweet spot. There's always risk involved. I think that's something where you're the first person jumping in, and you could talk to those owners as you're going through, where, a lot of our guys that I just read you off those numbers, those first 13 owners, they weren't buying in anything. There was nobody to validate. They were really, trusting us that, we were going to get things figured out for them, upon the system we have already built to help them build a successful business.
Absolutely.
And that's scary for a lot of people, to be the first, to buy into nothing, right? And I think, franchising, you want to mitigate your risk. So I think that kind of sweet spot between, that 3 to 4 years, having, again, most franchise brands never get to 100 owners. To have that many owners, we have 90 that are open right now. Another 8 are going to be at training in 2 weeks. So there's a lot of owners to speak to that have been open, as well as, just that sold number.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just have a few questions left for you, and if you could just answer in one word. I understand that your enthusiasm and your passion, like sometimes that one word doesn't just come to mind, but when what's one thing that people misunderstand about franchising?
One word answer, I would say hard. This is still starting a business, right? I think a lot of people, and I think we do a lot of coaching on this. If you have been successful your whole career, you save up to buy a business,
Right.
and you get a business for the first time, you're like, I made it. I own my own business, but you're buying into a brand new location. It's a
Yeah.
lot of hard work. And I think, one thing that we try and do with RM, because, for me, my goal is to partner, and I look at myself as a recruiter. So if anyone's telling you it's easy, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard anybody that's had a successful business where you met them? For me, I like to see people owners that have things that I want. Guys got a really nice boat, and I have a chance to meet them, or or a nice car. Nice, what do you do? You never hear somebody say that, like, oh yeah, it was so easy. I did this and this. Everything was easy, and now I make a bunch of money. I think don't understand how it is, because not everybody can be a business owner, right? We have the systems and processes for you. We have the support. It is on you. You were betting on yourself to succeed. But the thing is, if you're a W-2 owner, worker, and your department is underperforming, or you're not performing there, you're going to get fired anyway. So you're already betting on yourself. So I think it's just kind of translating that. And I think, if I would sum up one word, you're never going to hear, I think, any owner, at least should say, saying, it was easy. So I think just to understand how hard it is to be successful, right? And anything that's come at work in its life of obtaining is always going to be hard to get. And that's why you have it. That's a great word to summarize it in.
Well, thank you. Yes. So my last question then is, what's your favorite tool or technology that's used by Voda?
Yeah, I think great question. So favorite tool or technology, I think, our restoration quoting software, even though it's not something I use day to day, hearing owners talk about the feedback and where that's headed, I think is pretty cool. We also have a know-how software, which allows us to, essentially it's a manual or playbook, everything that we've done, you can tap into, where, hey, what, SOPs and things like that are all in there. So I think those are two of the ones that I think are probably top of my list.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. It would probably be helpful for me too. Well, I just have enjoyed my time with you today, Steve, and thank you for sharing all of your insight into owning franchise and scalability and how to make that a successful venture. And clearly, Voda has a playbook and a process that's proven, and we're just so happy to feature you on our Franchise Legends.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to continue to work with you. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to, reach out, or, reach out locally to you guys, and, excited to where we're going to take Voda, in the future.
Wonderful. Well, I can expect good and big things, as you've already experienced. That trajectory is right on scale.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you, Steve. Take care.